Snark Squad. Babes, it's Monday evening. And babes, we are cozy, we are fueled, and honestly, we are here.
I'm so here for
We
you.
were just chatting before we hit record. And somehow, we got onto the topic of celebrity deaths. And it's actually insane how hard some of them have hit us. Like, we don't know these people. But somehow it feels like we did.
Well, it's entirely a psychological phenomenon, like the parasocial relationship. We are talking about this incredibly potent, one-sided intimacy where, we invest our emotional energy, our time, and our genuine affection into figures who are completely oblivious to our existence.
Literally oblivious. They have no idea who we are.
Exactly. And yet, the grief when they pass away is profoundly, undeniably real. It's a very specific, almost disorienting kind of mourning because society doesn't quite know where to place it. You didn't lose a blood relative, but your brain registers a loss with the exact same chemical weight.
It is a massive heavyweight because you literally grow up with these people. Think about the 90s and the 2000s. The landscape was just so different back then.
Totally different ecosystem.
Right. We didn't have the internet saturating every single second of our day with micro content.
Yeah.
Back then, if you loved an artist, it was a tactile experience. You were literally sitting on your floor waiting for them to be on TRL.
Watching Carson daily like it was the nightly news.
Yes. You were buying the physical magazines, cutting out the photos, taping them to your bedroom wall. Their music, their movies, they were the literal physical soundtrack to the most formative, emotionally volatile years of our lives.
The structural foundation of our youth.
Exactly. You're in your bedroom, crying over some terrible high school breakup, listening to their CD on a scratched-up Discman, and their voice just becomes a part of your emotional DNA. So when they pass away, it honestly feels like you're losing the person who held your hand through your adolescence.
Which perfectly explains why the grief hits with such an intense, visceral shock. If we, break down the mechanics of that grief, it's not just about losing the individual celebrity.
No, it's so much deeper than that.
The human brain catalogs our memories chronologically, right?
Right.
But it ties them to specific cultural touchstones to anchor them. When a prominent figure from your childhood or your teenage years passes away, it actively strips away that anchor.
Oh, wow. That is so true.
It forces you to confront the passage of time and your own mortality. It's not just, oh, this talented singer is gone. It's a definitive realization that the era of your own life they represent is completely sealed off. It is a timestamp on your youth suddenly having an expiration date.
Oh my God, an expiration date.
Strategically speaking, you are mourning your past self.
That is exactly it. It is mourning who we were when we first loved them. Okay, I have to share the one that completely broke me because it illustrates exactly what you're saying.
Let's hear it.
I was in my first apartment. It was a Tuesday, I remember, because it was raining, and I had just ordered this terrible, overpriced takeout. I was scrolling on my phone, and the news broke about a certain iconic 90s teen idol passing away.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
The kind of idol whose face was the defining aesthetic of my entire middle school existence. Babes, I dropped my phone on the floor. I didn't even touch the food. I just sat on my tragic little IKEA rug and completely broke down.
Just a total system failure.
A complete spiral.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment, I wasn't just crying for him. I was crying for the 13-year-old version of me who thought the world was so vast and full of possibility and who thought the people she looked up to were somehow invincible. It felt like someone reached into my chest and took a physical piece of my childhood.
See, that illusion of invincibility is so crucial to this whole concept. For me, the one that triggered that exact analytical and emotional collision was a legendary musician from that exact same era.
Oh, I remember you calling me about this.
I was sitting at my desk, looking at a wall of spreadsheets, living the absolute corporate dream, obviously, when the news alert populated on my screen. And what fascinated me in that moment wasn't just my own reaction, which was this very deep, hollow sense of shock, but watching the global consciousness shift in real time.
It was like the whole world stopped.
Within seconds, the entire infrastructure of the internet pivoted. Millions of people all across the globe were sharing the exact same visceral sense of loss. We were all suddenly transported back to being 16 years old, driving with the windows down, blasting their music.
Yes, oh my gosh, yes.
It was a collective trauma disguised as pop culture. It reminds you that despite all our geographical or political differences, our shared cultural touchstones bind us together in this massive, invisible web.
It is a massive web.
Yeah.
And it just proves how much art and entertainment actually matter to the human experience. Like, we aren't just consuming content, we are looking for connection.
Always seeking the connection.
Which honestly is why we care so much about the messy, chaotic reality TV we talk about on this show. We get deeply invested because human behavior, even when it's heavily produced for television, is just fascinating.
Exactly. The human condition is a spectacle. We crave connection, we crave narrative, and sometimes, frankly, we crave the absolute beautiful disaster of other people's choices.
And sometimes, to process all of those beautiful disasters, we require a little bit of chemical intervention. Babes, the Casamigos margaritas,
Oh, they are back.
are back on deck.
They are making a highly anticipated triumphant return to the table tonight.
And we are in absolute heaven. I am holding this glass right now. The condensation is perfectly dripping down the side. The lighting in this room is low. I have my cozy blanket aggressively draped over my lap. And this drink is giving me exactly what my central nervous system needs to survive a Monday.
It is medicinal at this point.
I am obsessed with the sensory experience of this right now. Like, fully obsessed.
Well, acting as the resident sommelier for our Monday night coping mechanisms, I have to say, this batch is structurally flawless.
You really did something special with these.
The ratio is the critical mechanism here, Snark Squad. You cannot overpour the agave, or you completely obliterate the complexity of the tequila. We executed a heavy, highly confident pour of Casamigos Reposado.
A very confident pour.
The lime is freshly squeezed because the citric acid in bottled juice degrades and tastes like battery acid, and we do not do that here. And the salt rim is thick, coarse sea salt. It creates this perfect osmotic pull on your tongue.
Wow. Okay, Bill Nye, I love it.
It bites back just enough to counteract the sweetness. It is the exact right amount of strength to numb the email fatigue of the work week, but crisp enough to keep our synapses firing for the absolute mess we are about to unpack.
It is the perfect balance, which we desperately need because Snark Squad, we had to do it. The inbox has been overflowing. Our DMs have been going completely off the rails.
Explosive. Truly a sociological goldmine of poor decision-making and questionable ethics in there.
We are talking shady, snarky, and stupid submissions. So for those of you who are new to the Snark side, let's quickly explain how this segment works.
Let's lay the groundwork.
Listeners send in their real-life messy situations, the drama from the group chats, the questionable late-night choices, the absolute neighborhood chaos. And we read them anonymously, and we decide, is the behavior shady? Is it snarky? Or is it just straight up stupid?
We basically provide the objective, albeit slightly tipsy, judgment, so you don't have to carry the burden of your guilt alone.
Exactly. We are your reality check. Okay, let's get right into the mess. Submission number 1. A listener writes in and admits that she refollowed her ex-boyfriend just to, quote, see what he's up to.
Always a fatal error.
Which, fine, we've all been curious. But wait, it gets so much worse. She ended up liking multiple old photos. Accidentally, at 2 in the morning.
I am taking a very long, very deliberate sip of this margarita before I even begin to address the structural failure of this situation.
I am physically cringing for her. Multiple photos. From deep in the grid, you know she was scrolling back to like 2021.
See, this isn't shady. Shady implies a level of cunning. And it's not snarky. This is a monumental, catastrophic failure of basic operational security.
Oh boy. Here we go with the OPSEC.
For the uninitiated, operational security, or OPSEC, is the process of protecting individual pieces of data that could be grouped together to give away the bigger picture. In this case, the big picture is that you are obsessively spiraling over your ex in the middle of the night.
Literally caught in 4K.
This is a unanimously stupid verdict. If you are going to execute a 2 a.m. reconnaissance mission on an ex-partner's social media grid, you do not use your main account. Where is the burner account discipline?
She got sloppy.
Where is the Finsta with 0 followers and a default gray profile picture? You went into a secure facility without gloves, you left your fingerprints on multiple artifacts, and you tripped the alarm. Stupid.
Okay, yes, the operational security was totally non-existent. I completely agree it is a stupid move, but my heart is breaking for her. Because the digital footprint is a treacherous landscape.
It is unforgiving.
Your thumb slips by a literal millimeter, the screen lags for a fraction of a second, and suddenly you've double-tapped a photo of him and his golden retriever from 3 years ago.
Well, you shouldn't be that deep in the grid anyway.
The dopamine loop of social media stalking overrides our fine motor skills. It just happens. Now she has to throw her phone in a river, fake her own death, and move to a new country. Verdict is stupid, but with a heavy, heavy side of human tragedy.
Learn the mechanics of the machinery before you operate it, Snark Squad. The double tap feature is highly sensitive. Move on to the next one before my stress levels peak.
Okay, breathe. Submission 2. Brace yourself. A listener says she told two different friend groups, two completely different versions of the exact same story. And now, the two friend groups are meeting for her birthday dinner.
Oh, this is a ticking time bomb.
Right.
This is purely shady, and the blast radius is going to take out the entire appetizer course. Why would you ever compartmentalize your lies when you know the containment fields are going to merge? The logistics of this are a nightmare.
Wait, hold on. I am actually going to defend her on that.
You cannot be serious.
I am putting my shield up for this listener right now because I completely understand the vision.
You cannot possibly defend this level of orchestrated deception.
I absolutely can, because we all do it. It is a psychological survival tactic called sociological code switching. You modify your presentation and your narrative based on the specific audience to optimize your social standing.
That is just a fancy term for lying.
Listen, you have your perfectly polished work friends who get the PG-13, sanitized, quote-unquote, I read a book and went to bed early version of your weekend.
Okay, sure.
And then you have your absolute unhinged goblin energy friends who get the raw director's cut of the story where you tripped over a curb at 1 in the morning. You have to tailor your content to your demographic.
But it's the exact same story.
If something dramatic happens, I'm going to spin the narrative so that the specific friend group I'm talking to is entertained. It's not malicious lying, it's dedicated storytelling.
No, it is social perjury. You are creating an environment of profound narrative instability.
Narrative instability.
Yes. If you tell Group A that you politely declined a date because you were passionately focusing on your career trajectory, and you tell Group B that you fake cried in a restaurant bathroom to escape a man who wouldn't stop explaining cryptocurrency to you.
Which is a valid reason to fake cry, by the way.
And then Group A and Group B sit next to each other at a dimly lit Italian restaurant for your birthday. You are creating a scenario where everyone realizes you are a highly unreliable narrator. The anxiety of keeping those timelines straight would ruin the taste of the Casamigos for me. It's shady, it's manipulative, and it is terrible event planning.
Okay, the birthday dinner part is a logistical nightmare. I will concede that point. The merging of the friend groups is where she miscalculated.
A massive miscalculation.
Like, I once told my college friends I was super outdoorsy and told my work friends I was incredibly allergic to nature. They ended up collaborating and planning a joint cabin trip for me.
Oh my God, see? This is what happens.
I had to fake a sprained ankle for 3 entire days just to avoid hiking. The mental gymnastics required were exhausting. So, yes, it's messy, but I respect the hustle of curating the vibe for your audience.
The verdict is unequivocally shady. Best of luck at the dinner, listener. Please wear a microphone so we can analyze the audio when the entire facade collapses over the pasta course. Next submission.
I am actually sweating just thinking about that dinner. Okay, last one. Submission 3. A listener reveals she's been using her roommate's incredibly expensive luxury skincare secretly for months.
No, absolutely not.
Wait, it gets worse. And when her roommate compliments her glowing skin, she pretends she just, quote, found a new, affordable routine.
Absolutely, unequivocally shady, snarky, and frankly, actionable in a court of law.
This is a literal felony. Do you know the sheer financial mechanics of a good vitamin C serum in this economy?
It is astronomical.
If someone is dropping drunk elephant or La Mer money, which is practically the price of a car payment, and you are scooping your unwashed, contaminating fingers into their meticulously formulated little jars while they're at work, you are a supervillain.
It's not just the financial theft, though. It's the psychological audacity of accepting the compliment.
The gaslighting.
Exactly. To sit there, physically glowing with stolen hydration, look your roommate directly in the eye and say, oh, I just started drinking more water. The sheer sociopathy of that lie is staggering.
Sociopathy is the only word for it.
And pragmatically speaking, she is going to get caught. A luxury skincare user knows the exact depletion rate of their product. When she notices the jar emptying at twice the normal speed, she is going to do the math, calculate the monetary value of what you stole per ounce, and present you with an itemized invoice. Shady verdict, locked in.
Unanimously snarky and shady. Buy your own moisturizer. We cannot protect you from the wrath of a woman who has been robbed of her hyaluronic acid.
She is on her own.
The DMs are such a beautifully wild place. But, analyzing these fake personas, our listeners are putting on perfectly. Bridges the gap to what we really need to talk about tonight.
It is a flawless analytical transition. We are moving from the amateur operational security of everyday life to the highly produced, meticulously crafted illusion of reality television. Because we have an absolute mountain of spectacle to unpack.
The idol drama. We're fully locked in. We have our drinks, we have our opinions, and we have a recap that is going to take us on a complete emotional roller coaster.
Buckle up.
Because it was Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night. And the stakes for the contestants were stratospheric. We started the night with the top 11. They all performed live. And by the end of the broadcast, 2 people had their dreams crushed and were sent packing.
And we have to start by establishing the gravity of the mentors in the room. Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo, absolute architectural pillars of rock music.
Icons. Legends.
They were guiding these kids through some of the most difficult, technically demanding catalogs in music history. And they announced the 2026 inductees that night, right? Phil Collins, Oasis, Wu-Tang Clan. The atmospheric pressure on that stage to deliver something authentic was immense.
The atmosphere was electric. You could feel the nervous energy through the screen. And can we just start with the opening performance? I completely lost my mind.
Oh, the duet.
Carrie Underwood stepping out and singing Rebel Yell with Billy Idol.
Let's analyze the visual and auditory impact of this. First of all, Carrie Underwood's stylist deserves a bonus. The rocker hair, the leather, it completely ate.
Left no crumbs.
She stepped entirely out of her polished country lane and delivered pure, unadulterated, raspy rock energy. It was a masterclass in genre adaptability. But the real subject of sociological study on that stage is Billy Idol.
The man simply does not age.
It is uncanny. I was reading through the Reddit live discussion thread, which is my absolute favorite secondary source for unfiltered cultural chaos, obviously, and a user pointed out something so phenomenally accurate.
What do they say?
They said Billy Idol is one of those rare figures who exists outside the normal parameters of human aging. If someone told you he was a very wizened 37-year-old who has just seen too much, you'd believe it. If someone told you he was literally a 205-year-old immortal punk rock vampire, you would completely believe it.
A 205-year-old vampire. It is so unbelievably true.
His energy transcends time.
He just has this electric, chaotic energy that completely set the tone for the night. It was amazing. But then the actual competition started, and the voting opened. And we have to talk about the absolute structural disaster of it all.
Oh, I have been waiting for this all week. I need to go on an analytical tear about the fundamentally broken mechanics of live social media voting.
Go off, please.
It is a system designed for engagement, not for talent evaluation. You have the Reddit threads screaming in all caps, social media voting sucks. And structurally, they are entirely correct.
The Snark squad is nodding aggressively right now. We hate the live vote.
Think about it like high-frequency stock trading. In high-frequency trading, computers aren't analyzing the actual fundamental value of a company. They are trading based on algorithmic momentum and speed. That is exactly what is happening to these contestants.
Yes, the algorithms.
You have people on the East Coast and the West Coast locking in their votes before the contestants even open their mouths to sing. They are casting votes based on time zones, blind geographic loyalty, and how aesthetically pleasing someone's Instagram grid is.
It's so messed up.
We are supposed to be judging a rigorous vocal competition based on Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night performances, and instead people are submitting their 20 allocated votes while they're heating up a Hot Pocket in the microwave without hearing a single note. It completely undermines the integrity of the live performance. It turns an auditory art form into a purely demographic data race.
Okay, I hear the logic and I respect a high-frequency trading metaphor, but I am going to push back on this.
A fact, let's hear it.
Because music is inherently subjective. We like to sit here and pretend this is some scientific objective vocal Olympics where everyone gets a score out of 10 for their pitch accuracy. But it's not. It's reality television.
It is a singing competition.
It is basically a highly budgeted, nationally televised high school popularity contest. We are literally watching people vote for who has the best hair over who has the best breath control. And honestly, that is exactly how the real-world music industry operates.
I mean, statistically, yes.
But consumers buy concert tickets for the vibe, the look, the parasocial connection. You can't be mad at the fans for standing their favorites and protecting them in the voting block, even if they hit a flat note on a Tuesday night.
I absolutely can and will be mad at it when it results in technically superior vocalists getting sent home while mediocre karaoke singers coast through on a smile.
Okay, fair. That part does hurt.
It is deeply frustrating to watch people treat a talent evaluation like a fan cam contest. But rather than just complain about the system, let's look at the actual data. Let's look at the performances, strip away the hype, and decide who actually impressed us and who is surviving purely on a sob story and an algorithmic shield.
Let's do it. Let's break down the star versus the sob story. Be completely honest. Who actually impressed you? Let's start with the unexpected stars of the night. Lucas Leon, 18 years old, from Gallatin, Tennessee.
A massive revelation.
Huge. I have to admit, I've been totally sleeping on Lucas this entire season. He's been safe, he's been fine. But when he sat down at that piano and played the opening chords to Elton John's Benny and the Jets, I freaked out.
He fundamentally changed his trajectory in the competition.
He wasn't just singing. He was physically battling that piano. He was throwing his head back. He had this soulful, gritty, bluesy vibe that we had just not seen from it. Mechanically, he moved away from that nasal country sound and dropped into this rich, chest-voice soul. It was his best performance by a mile.
It was a massive step up in technical difficulty and execution. And what's fascinating here is the statistical anomaly surrounding this specific performance. Someone on the subreddit dug up this insane piece of trivia.
Oh, I love Reddit trivia.
Gallatin, Tennessee has a population of roughly 57,000 people. Lucas is the second kid from that exact small specific town to sing this exact song, Benny and the Jets, at this exact stage of the competition on American Idol.
That is a literal glitch in the simulation.
It is statistically wild.
What is in the municipal water supply in Gallatin, Tennessee that is mutating teenagers to sing Elton John on reality TV?
It completely defies statistical probability. But trivia aside, he abandoned the generic acoustic guitar safety net he's been relying on and leaned into genuine musicality. But if we want to talk about someone who completely polarized the audience, we have to talk about Brooks.
Oh, Brooks.
22 years old, from Bel Air, Maryland, sang These Days by Jackson Browne.
I love Brooks. I will defend Brooks with my life. He gave me absolute chills. The judges gave him a standing ovation.
They did, but the internet did not.
Luke Bryan told him, he creates atmospheric moments. Lionel Richie looked at him and said, he has one of the most unique vocal sounds you could possibly ask for in this industry. He doesn't belt. He just has this quiet, captivating, indie folk stage presence that physically makes you want to lean forward and listen closer. It felt like watching an intimate set at a very expensive music festival, not a frantic reality competition.
And here is where the analytical divide between the judges and the public becomes so stark. Because while the judges were giving him a standing ovation, the internet was aggressively tearing him apart.
It was so brutal.
I am talking brutal surgical takedowns of his vocal mechanics. One commenter explicitly stated that his voice sounds like, quote, sucking air out of a balloon.
That is so incredibly mean. People have no filter.
It's harsh, but let's explain the mechanics of why people are having that visceral reaction. Brooks relies heavily on a very specific stylized vibrato. Vibrato, mechanically, is a rapid, slight variation in pitch that singers use to produce a richer tone. But when a singer doesn't have the proper diaphragmatic support behind it, or when they force it artificially as a stylistic choice on every single syllable, it stops sounding like music and starts sounding like a nervous tremble.
I mean, I guess I hear what they're saying, but...
It can literally mimic the high-pitched, strained squeal of air escaping a balloon to the human ear. The internet is arguing that just because a sound is unique doesn't automatically mean it is pleasant to endure for 3 minutes.
I am actually offended for him. You do not need to be Mariah Carey hitting ultrasonic whistle notes to be considered a valid artist. He has carved out a specific lane. He is building a deeply emotional, moody vibe. Not everyone needs to scream at the top of their lungs to command a room.
Fair point on artistic lanes. But let's contrast his artistic risk with someone who is undeniably, unapologetically coasting. Let's pivot to the sob stories and coasting category. Chris Tungseth, 27 years old, sang Cold as Ice by Foreigner.
Oh, it's a tragedy.
A complete misfire.
It was giving, like, local accounting firm's karaoke night at a dive bar at 1 in the morning.
It was incredibly flat, both in pitch and in energy. The tempo was dragging. He approached a quintessential rock anthem like he was lost in the aisles of a grocery store looking for cereal.
Looking for cereal.
Yes.
There was zero rock aggression. He looked incredibly cheerful, singing a song explicitly about someone being cold and manipulative. The cognitive disconnect between his facial expressions and the lyrics was jarring. Both of us agree, he is strictly surviving on his visual aesthetic.
He has fantastic hair, I'll give him that. He looks like a classic 90s heartthrob. But vocally, the live band completely swallowed him whole. You couldn't even hear him on the chorus.
There is a hilarious but structurally sound fan theory circulating that Chris has the union construction worker voting bloc completely locked down.
Wait, really? Yes. because that is his marketed backstory. He is the humble construction worker. And somehow, despite consistently delivering bottom-tier vocals week after week, he survives the eliminations. It is a perfect, real-world example of demographic voting overriding musical merit.
The algorithm at work again?
Exactly. People see themselves in his story, and they vote to protect the avatar of the working man, regardless of his inability to hit a high C.
It is literally the hair and the hard hat keeping him safe. But okay, we have to talk about the other coaster. Kyndal Inskeep, 29 years old. She sang Janis Joplin's Piece of My Heart barefoot again.
The bare feet are becoming a calculated psychological weapon against the viewers.
I cannot handle the bare feet anymore. Put the dogs away. We are on a nationally televised stage with millions of dollars of lighting equipment. Put on a shoe.
It's distracting.
But honestly, the aesthetic was the least of her problems. The vocals were the real issue. She blatantly ignored Pat Benatar. Pat Benatar and Giraldo literally sat down with her face-to-face and explicitly told her, do not sing Janis Joplin. Your voice isn't built for it. Sing Message in a Bottle by the Police.
A massive gift of advice.
And she just nodded politely and said, no, I'm going to do it my way.
It was a massive, arrogant strategic error. You have Rock and Roll Hall of Famers giving you a tailored, highly specific roadmap to success, and you crumple it up and throw it out. And let's explain why Pat Benatar gave her that advice.
Please, break it down.
Singing Janis Joplin requires massive diaphragmatic support. You need an incredible amount of aerodynamic push from your lungs to create that specific, raspy, gritty rock belt without shredding your vocal cords.
Which Kyndal does not have.
Exactly. Kyndal has a light, airy indie pop tone. She lacks the physical vocal mechanics to generate that grit. She performs sick, which is unfortunate, but because she lacked the foundational support, her voice just flattened out and sounded exhausted. It felt like she was entirely over the experience of being there.
She completely butchered it. That is 2 weeks in a row of just flat, uninspired performances. But she has a massive TikTok following, and that's the only reason she's still surviving.
The pre-established platform is too powerful.
She has algorithmic armor. She has a major talent agency backing her. She has millions of followers who are conditioned to double tap her face. She could literally stand on that stage, whisper the alphabet, and her digital army would vote her into the top 9. It is wild to watch the power of a pre-established platform.
Which perfectly illustrates the core flaw in the high-frequency voting system we discussed earlier. The established fan base insulates the performer from the actual consequences of a bad live performance.
It's so frustrating to watch as a viewer.
But let's cleanse our auditory palate. Let's move to the best vocal of the night. Because despite the overwhelming chaos and the barefoot indie covers, somebody actually ate.
Somebody did. And we have an absolute unanimous Snark side consensus on this. Jordan McCullough, 27 years old, from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Babes, he shut the entire building down.
He undeniably, mathematically won the night. The song choice was Queen's Somebody to Love.
Such a hard song.
This is not just a song. It is a monumental vocal mountain to climb. Freddie Mercury arrangements are notoriously treacherous. And Jordan didn't just climb it. He planted a flag at the summit and built a house there.
He is a worship director. He directs church choirs for a living. And he stepped out onto that stage on Rock Night wearing a leather jacket and delivered pure, electrifying stadium rock energy. It was insane.
If we break down the mechanics of why he is succeeding at such a high level where others are failing, it comes down to his profound understanding of song architecture. He is the king of song choice.
He really is. He never misses.
He understands exactly where the pocket of his voice is. And frankly, the leap from worship director to rock star is not as far as people think. What does a worship director do? They manage the energetic flow of a massive room. They lead a congregation through an emotional arc.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
That is the exact same skill set required to command a stadium as a rock frontman. It was technically flawless. It wasn't a reality show performance. He stepped up there like he was opening the Grammys.
Yes, that is exactly what the energy felt like. He elevated the entire production value of the show. And there was a comment from the Snark squad in the DMs that I have not stopped laughing about all morning. Someone said he stepped out looking like DJ Khaled, but fixed.
I saw that. Absolutely brilliant surgical descriptive work from the internet. He has evolved from a nervous contestant into a highly marketable, sexy star right before our eyes. Going last in the broadcast lineup really highlighted the vast, undeniable canyon of technical talent between him and the rest of the pack.
He was entirely in his own league. But I also have to give a massive, massive shout out to my girl, Keyla Richardson, 29 years old. Pensacola, Florida. She sang Stevie Wonder's Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
The emotional zenith of the evening, statistically speaking.
She completely bounced back.
Yeah.
Because last week, we were stressed. It was a rough vocal night, but this week, she took us to church. She was moving. She was smiling. She hit every single rung.
Agility was incredible.
Luke Bryan was literally speechless at the judges' table. He said he had never seen her take it to that level of power. Lionel Richie threw his hand up and yelled, "Let the congregation say amen." She brought so much joy and sheer vocal velocity to that stage.
And beyond the vocal velocity, we have to look at the external sociological factors driving her momentum. The community support structure behind her is staggering. It is a masterclass in grassroots mobilization.
The Key Hive. Pensacola's not playing around. They have official watch parties at bars all over the city. There's literally a massive, beautiful mural painted of her at Graffiti Bridge.
That is dedication.
The actual mayor of the city, D.C. Reeves, flew out and showed up to the live taping in the audience. Her mom runs a learning academy back home. She's a music teacher. The entire infrastructure of the city is carrying her on their shoulders.
It is incredibly heartwarming, but it raises a very important analytical question regarding the endgame mechanics of this competition.
That's the question.
Does localized hometown hype, even the intense mural painting mayoral level hype of Pensacola, actually translate to enough sustained national voting volume to win the entire show?
Oh, that's a good point.
A localized, highly mobilized voting bloc is incredibly powerful for surviving the middle rounds of a reality show. But to win the finale, you need to capture the casual viewer in the Midwest who has absolutely zero emotional or geographic connection to your hometown. You have to transcend the local narrative and become a national commodity.
It is such a good point. The Key Hive is strong, and they are fiercely loyal. But eventually, they're going to go up against the algorithmic TikTok armies of the other contestants. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the final weeks.
A statistical nightmare.
Which brings us, unfortunately, to the actual bloodbath of the evening, the eliminations. Because Ryan Seacrest dimmed the studio lights, he did the excruciating dramatic pauses, and we got the final results.
The eliminations. The outrage. The victims of the high-frequency voting machine were Philmon Lee and Rae.
I am losing my mind. I am actively, physically still upset about this outcome. Rae got the boot. We are sitting here mourning a 24-year-old from Maryland losing her lifelong dream.
I know you were heavily invested in her.
Rae is arguably the most technically perfect singer that stepped onto that stage all season. Let's talk about her mechanics. She has breath control that is out of this world. She modulates flawlessly. She hits these massive sustained belts from down on her knees without her pitch wavering for a microsecond.
She's a very strong technician.
She is a vocal powerhouse. She was never once off pitch. She is giving professional Kelly Clarkson, Jennifer Hudson level energy, and America sent her packing. I am devastated.
Okay, I am going to shut down the emotional spiral with cold, hard, strategic analysis right now. Because while your emotional response to her vocal talent is valid, her elimination is entirely logically sound. Let's look at the facts of her execution.
Do not defend this outcome.
I'm not defending the voters' taste. I am analyzing her gameplay. And her gameplay was flawed. She chose to sing Donna Summer's MacArthur Park on Rock Night.
Okay, fine. It was a weird choice.
She dug her own grave with a glittery disco shovel. You do not bring a bizarre, lengthy, structurally complex disco track about a cake being left out in the rain to Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo. It was the wrong genre, the wrong aesthetic vibe, and frankly, a highly polarizing song choice for a mainstream audience.
But she sang it so well.
If we look at the mechanics of arranging disco into rock, it is incredibly difficult. Disco relies on a steady four-on-the-floor beat. Rock relies on heavy syncopation and driving guitars. Unless you have a brilliant arranger who can completely deconstruct the song, you are just alienating the core rock voting demographic. She handed the audience a reason to tune out, and they eliminated her for it.
Okay, fine. This song choice was a bizarre pivot. I'll give you the strategy point. But her raw vocals on that weird song were still flawless.
Weird.
But let's talk about the other elimination. Philmon, 25 years old. He sang Foreigner's High-Pleaded.
Oh.
He has this massive, incredible, classic rock voice.
And absolutely zero kinetic energy. That was Philmon's fatal flaw. He has an incredible vocal instrument, but visually, he is a statue.
He was a little stiff.
You cannot just stand perfectly still, rooted to the floor, staring blankly into the middle distance like you were waiting for a bus, while singing a hyper-aggressive song called Hot-Blooded on Rock Night.
Yeah.
The cognitive dissonance was overwhelming.
He just looks so nervous.
The judges literally had to beg him during rehearsal to just look at them. He lacked the swagger, the physical movement, the character embodiment that rock music inherently requires. He gave a phenomenal vocal recording for Spotify, but a terrible visual performance for television.
It breaks my heart because I feel like I was watching him slowly gain confidence every single week. I was feeling so intensely maternal towards him. I just wanted to jump through the screen, shake his shoulders, and yell, "Move your hips, run across the stage, do a knee slide."
He needed a choreographer, desperately.
But he just stood there frozen.
Yeah.
But even acknowledging Rae's weird disco song choice and Philmon's absolute statue energy, who should have gone home based on vocal merit? We have a unanimous Snark side agreement. It should not have been them.
Absolutely not. The axe should have fallen on Chris for the aforementioned grocery store karaoke tragedy, and it definitively should have fallen on Daniel Stallworth.
Daniel, what was he thinking?
He took Bon Jovi's Livin' on a Prayer, which is arguably one of the most high-energy, driving arena rock anthems in human existence, and he completely neutered it.
Neutered it is the only word for it.
He turned it into a weird, slowed-down cruise ship lounge act. And let's explain the musical mechanics of why it sounded so awful. He relied heavily on syncopation.
Here we go with the music theory.
Syncopation is when you place the musical stress or accent on a beat that is normally unaccented. It creates a funky, off-kilter rhythm, which is great for jazz or R&B. But when you apply heavy syncopation to an arena rock anthem that is designed for 80,000 people to pump their fists to on the downbeat, you destroy the momentum.
You completely kill the vibe.
It was funky in the most uncomfortable, inappropriate way possible. Simon Cowell would have absolutely eviscerated him for that arrangement.
It was so deeply cringe. I was dying of secondhand embarrassment on my couch. How do you take a Bon Jovi stadium banger and genetically modify it to sound like the elevator music at a slightly upscaled dental office?
Baffling.
And he survived. Daniel and Chris, with their terrible arrangements and flat vocals, survived the high-frequency voting machine, and Rae and Philmon went home. I hate the voting public. I really do.
The voting public is predictably unpredictable, driven entirely by narrative and momentum rather than pitch, which is exactly why we observe them from a safe, analytical distance. Which brings us to a very sobering reality check, because we sit here and judge, but we need to look inward.
Oh my gosh, put the margaritas down, look in the mirror. Could we actually survive this machine? If we had the vocal talent, could we survive the reality TV apparatus?
Let's analyze the psychological gauntlet of what it actually takes.
I couldn't do it. I'm telling you right now, with complete self-awareness, I would not survive the first day of Hollywood Week.
You really wouldn't.
I would immediately start crying the second Luke Bryan caught it.
Luke Bryan didn't give me a reassuring smile. If Lionel Richie looked at me and gave me that disappointed stare and told me my brain got in front of my throat, I would spiral into a deep existential depression that would last a solid decade.
What about the backstory? You need a narrative. And my sob story? They thrive on trauma.
Yeah.
I don't have a tragic backstory. My heavily produced sob story would just be that I got a bad iced coffee from a drive-thru that morning, and the dairy threw off my vocal warm-ups. They would laugh me right out of the audition room.
You are definitely lacking the required emotional resilience, yes. But beyond the judges, think about the digital footprint. Think about the permanence of what happens after the broadcast airs.
The internet is terrifying.
You go on national television, you sing your heart out, you expose your deepest vulnerabilities to the camera, and then what happens? A massive anonymous subreddit creates a dedicated multi-page thread analyzing how your vibrato sounds like a deflating balloon.
I would throw up.
They hyperanalyze your bare feet. They debate whether your pitchiness is a sign of poor training or fundamental character weakness. You are subjecting yourself to the unfiltered, merciless judgment of millions of armchair experts. It is a psychological gauntlet that requires an ironclad sense of self and an impenetrable PR shield.
It is terrifying. When you really think about it, these are 22-year-old kids sitting in hotel rooms reading comments from people who have never sung outside of their shower, telling them they are an absolute joke. I would fight people in the comments.
You would absolutely breach OPSEC.
I would completely ruin my own career before it even started because I would be clapping back from a burner account at 3 in the morning, defending my honor.
Which, as we firmly established during the DM segment, is a catastrophic failure of operational security. You would get caught. Your IP address would be tracked, and you would be publicly shamed.
I would absolutely get caught. I would leave a digital trail a mile wide. So the conclusion is firm. We are staying on our couches.
Firmly planted in the cushions.
Drinks in hand.
The Casamigos is our psychological shield against the chaos.
Judging from the complete, unbothered safety of the Snark side, We will leave the stadium vocals to Jordan McCullough and the barefoot, poorly advised Janis Joplin covers to Kyndal.
A wise, highly strategic retreat from public life.
Snark Squad, what a night. What an absolute, sprawling, emotional roller coaster of an evening. We started with the deep, heavy nostalgia of losing the celebrities who literally raised us and anchored our childhoods.
We navigated the sheer sensory bliss of a perfectly poured Casamigos margarita.
We waded through the treacherous, shady, highly questionable waters of your real-life DM chaos. A sobering cautionary tale about the digital footprint and the logistics of lying.
And we screamed at our televisions over the tragic talent show drama, the high-frequency algorithmic voting, and the absolute injustice of Rae and Philmon's elimination.
It has been a massive journey. But before we let you go back to the reality of your week, we have to ask the Snark Squad. We need to hear your voices.
The data collection must continue. We need your analytical input.
Number 1. Which celebrity loss impacted you the most? Tell us who made you sit on your IKEA rug and sob, and tell us why it hit you so hard.
Number 2. Which DM submission was the absolute messiest? Are you defending the sociological code switching of the birthday dinner girl? Or are you calling the federal authorities on the luxury skincare thief?
And finally, could you ever go on a reality singing competition? Do you actually have the psychological fortitude to survive the subreddit? Or would you crumble under the weight of the internet?
Tell us absolutely everything in the comments. We read them all.
And reminders, rate, review, subscribe. Keep sending in your shady, snarky, and stupid submissions so we can judge them.
And please send this to your friend who genuinely thinks they have the vocal mechanics to win a talent show but desperately needs a reality check on their syncopation.
Yes, do them a massive favor. Thank you, Snark Squad, for spending your Monday evening with us. We love you so much. Stay shady, stay iconic, and we'll see you on the Snark side.